Namaste, dear ones. So today we're going to discuss the 5 critical differences between a narcissist and a codependent. And this is the question that so many people ask when they are on the codependency recovery journey. Am I the narcissist or am I the codependent? And it's a fair question, but I just want to start off by saying a narcissist is never going to question if they're a narcissist. So that's the first clue, because narcissists don't look within, they don't self-inquire. But this is why it gets so confusing, because there absolutely is overlap. You're not crazy if you're a codependent and you think, am I a narcissist? Because codependents can be extremely controlling. They can be terribly manipulative. They can use guilt as weapons against their partners who don't act and think the way they want them to do. And codependents will absolutely overstep boundaries because they don't have any boundaries. And if you are truly awakening, you have probably seen parts of yourself in behaviors like you thought, oh, these traits, they belong to them. They don't belong to me. And when you start awakening, you start to actually see yourself, which is a self-inquiry a codependent does. And you start to notice your behavior, which is all part of the healing process. So I wanted to slow this down for anybody who was wondering, am I the codependent or am I the narcissist? Because behaviors can overlap. So number 1, the core wound is shame versus defended superiority. Now, at the core, codependency is essentially unresolved shame from childhood. It's often tied to a deep unconscious belief that says essentially that I'm not enough, I am too much, and I'm not worthy of love unless I'm proving it and earning it. And this shame drives the need to overgive, to overfunction, to seek approval, to fix, and to prove. And when you are in that mode and people don't respond to you the way you want to, that's when you collapse into the shame and your ego reacts. But the core wound is shame. That's why you can be manipulative and condescending and passive aggressive, because the ego is shrouded in shame. So ego thought if I overgave, I overfunctioned, I people pleased, I took care of them, they would naturally take care of me. And when they don't, ego gets angry. But the core driver is shame. Now, let's look at narcissism, because it's a little different. Although most narcissists are created from trauma also, at the core of narcissism is also shame. It's defended very differently than a codependent. So instead of turning inward and feeling it, feeling the shame, feeling like I'm not good enough, it is defended against through superiority, through entitlement, through blame, and through externalization, where everything that comes out of a narcissist's mouth is for the sake of dominance and control and superiority. So while both may carry shame, the codependent internalizes it and the narcissist defends against it. This defense trips them up in the sense where it makes them feel superior and like you deserve everything that's coming out of their mouth. Now, this creates 2 very different relational patterns in people. So one moves towards self-blame, I'm not good enough, and in this shame, I can react. And the other moves towards blaming others and needing to blame others and being vindictive and rageful and putting that person down from a place of needing to defend their superiority. Number 2, control. Codependents and narcissists both have control issues, but one is fear-based and one is entitlement-based. So codependents often try to control situations and people. The intention underneath that control matters, because codependents' control is usually driven by anxiety and powerlessness and not enoughness. So their thinking is if I can fix this, if I can help people with this, if I can just explain enough, if I can just make sure that everyone else is okay, then I will eventually start to feel safe. My anxiety will wane, because if you're not okay, I can't be okay. It is fear-based control. So I'm looking to control your emotions by taking care of you so you calm down so I can calm down. Lions and tigers and bears are mine. Now, narcissist control is different. It is not rooted in anxiety about feeling safe. It is rooted in entitlement. What they say should be listened to. They should be obeyed. They should not be challenged. So a narcissist thinks, I should not be inconvenienced by you being annoyed by me. So while both may attempt control, it's really important that you see the nuance here. One is trying to prevent an emotional threat by taking care of other people, which is a form of control, and the other is trying to maintain dominance from a sense of control and entitlement. Number 3, talk about empathy here. So empathy can be an overextension versus limitation. So codependents tend to have high emotional empathy. We are the type of people that feel everybody else's pain. We can sense other people easily. We walk into a room and we know who's upset. We know who has low self-worth. We just know that other people are in pain, but we over-identify with other people's pain. We take it on. So we don't have a lack of empathy issue. It is a lack of boundaries around our empathy. We don't know how to be okay when someone else is not okay. We don't know how to be in a room and not fix someone who we know is feeling grief or loss. And then what happens is, because this lack of boundaries, we lose ourselves in the fixing, the people pleaser role, and with wanting to heal other people. This is not what happens with narcissists. Narcissists have a limitation in empathy. They are empathy impaired, especially when it comes to recognizing the emotional reality of others in a consistent and grounded way. They can't do it. So empathy may appear at times with a narcissist, but it's often conditional or it's self-referenced. So while a codependent may feel too much, a narcissist may struggle to sustain genuine empathy when it conflicts with their own needs or their own self-image. Number 4, accountability. Because codependents and narcissists can both struggle with accountability. So it's self-reflective versus defensiveness. And this is one of the most important differences, I think, in my humble opinion. And I want you to really hear this, because if you are a codependent with narcissistic traits, this is really going to help you, because codependents can reflect. They can look at themselves and they can say, hey, I can see where I made a mistake. I can see where I overgave. I can see where I overgave and I expected that person to make a big deal out of the gift that I gave them. I can see where I tried to control my daughter. I can see where I lost myself. I can see where I overstepped my boundaries and guilted my children into inviting my drunk friend to a christening or a party and they didn't want to. I can see it. They are capable of sitting in that awareness even though it's uncomfortable. So that capacity for self-reflection is actually what makes healing possible, and I think is the number one tool. If you can't do that, you ain't going to heal. Now, narcissist patterns tend to resist this. So narcissists resist this type of self-reflection because self-reflection threatens their identity structure. So instead of looking inward, they have to continue deflecting. They have to continue justifying. They have to minimize you, or they have to blame shift or rewrite the story. They have to do that to keep their grandiose sense of self intact. And this is why conversations with narcissists are circular. It's Groundhog's Day, man. You never get from point A to point B. You start off talking about one thing, you are around the mulberry bush for years. Nothing ever gets resolved when you're married or dealing with a narcissist, ever. You want to remember that when you're trying to confront something and resolve something in a narcissist, this is a trigger for them, because their system is designed to protect the self from the shame, not process it. So their system is designed to keep them encapsulated behind this steel wall. So they're going to deflect. Number 5, capacity for change. Awakening versus repetition. So what I mean by that is that this is where everything comes together. So codependents have the capacity to awaken. Narcissists do not. The pattern, once they begin to see the connections to the past, the connections to their unhealed, wounded inner child, once they start to feel the cost of that self-abandonment and they start to see the patterns of in their relationship where they've given too much and they've just thought that all I have to do is keep changing myself and the other person will change. Once they start to see that pattern, they begin to look within and they begin to face their shame. They begin to question their subconscious programming and their conditioning. And over time, with that awareness and new life skills and with repetition, they change internally. Their self-image changes. So it goes from not being enough to like, wait a minute, I am enough. And it's only because I was operating from this false program that I behaved in a world and attracted people that treated me like I wasn't enough. Like, how exciting is that to awaken to that and like work on that? So the difference, a huge difference between a codependent and a narcissist is that they can change. So even if someone is being codependent and manipulative and passive aggressive and all that jazz, once they see it, they can learn. They learn about boundaries, they learn self-trust, and they learn how to hold on to themselves and stay with themselves. They learn emotional regulation. They want to learn emotional regulation. Now, narcissistic patterns tend to just repeat themselves. And you have to understand, it's not because the change is impossible. It's because their system resists this level of self-awareness. They cannot get to that level of self-awareness that's required for transformation. And without that awareness and without that desire, narcissists are not going to change. No matter what they say in the moment, they cannot change. The same relationship dynamics will continue. And that is not your fault. This is just what it means to be a narcissist. So take a moment. I want you to pause here, because if you are listening to this and you are recognizing yourself in the codependent patterns, that is a wonderful thing, because you cannot fix a hole in the wall, dear one, that you cannot see. So seeing this in yourself says something about you, because this means that you have metacognition, and this means that you're not a narcissist, and this means that if you can stick with this, it's something that you can honor and learn to validate and love and work with. This is the meat on the bone, because the part of you that can say, I see this, I understand this, and I want to change this for me, for my children, just for the world. I don't want to be a codependent. I don't want to perpetuate codependency in this world. That means you're already waking up. And waking up is not about doing the recovery process perfectly. It's just about being honest about being an imperfect person that was affected by the past and programmed, and you're seeing it, and you don't want to abandon yourself anymore. You want to get honest about where you overgave and where fear was driving your behavior and where a sense of powerlessness was driving you to be controlling. Not so you can judge yourself, because 10 codependency commandments, one of them is you got to nudge the judge. And if you're interested in getting a copy of Codependency Commandments, just go to my website. And so it's not about judging ourselves. This is about understanding ourselves. And this is where real work begins, when we stop the pattern, when we stop looking outside of ourselves. Because codependency, dear one, is not just about our behavior. It's not just about setting boundaries and walking away and going no contact. It's truly about our nervous system conditioning. It's about the subconscious mind. It's about the inner child. It's about emotional blocks. It's about not being able to speak your truth. That's why I blew out my thyroid. And that's why I always tell my students and my private clients that awareness alone is not enough. You must begin retraining. You want to begin retraining your responses. You want to begin retraining your boundaries. You want to begin retraining your relationship to yourself, to your inner child, to your higher self, right? So you can integrate, so you can transmute the past. And this is the work that I guide people through. I help adult children of dysfunctional homes understand the patterns that are running their lives. Why? So they can do what I did, so they can stop living in reaction and begin living from a true sense of self-trust, an anchor inside themselves. And if you're at that point in your life where you're ready to stop overgiving and to stop overthinking and to stop abandoning yourself, that is amazing. It's about time, right, dear one? So no more asking yourself if you're the narcissist. The fact that you're asking yourself probably indicates that you're not a narcissist. I just want you to know, I read your comments and I see you. The hardest part of this journey is beginning. The hardest part of this journey is like taking off and figuring out like what's wrong. Once you know what's wrong, once you find the right information, and that's what I think about the 12-week breakthrough coaching program, it is a system and a process. It's a roadmap and a blueprint that I wish that I had once I figured out that I was codependent, because I spent so much time researching and watching videos and reading books. And it took me years to create a coaching program that other people from dysfunctional homes can simply just plug into for 1 hour a day for 90 days to help begin the retraining process. And this is us learning how to come back to the self. And you need mental and emotional training to be able to do that, because the default mode network, if you are from a toxic home and you are codependent, you attract narcissistic relationships. By default, you are going to continue to seek approval, continue to ruminate, and continue to focus on others without knowing how to truly focus on the self. And I aim to help you change all that. So namaste, dear ones, as I bow to the love and light that is absolutely in you. Bye for now.